pretty recently, it was confirmed that 3 teams have officially not made LEC Spring 2026 playoffs. These 3 teams being Shifters, Team Heretics, and SK Gaming. Now, I've been dying to talk about my opinion on these teams for a while, and there is no better opportunity than today to talk about it because recently it's been announced that there have been 2 changes to 2 of these rosters, or 1 change each, 1 change respectively. The first being, I actually think this was chronologically the first. The first being a player named Slowq, mid laner Slowq, replacing Leader on SK Gaming. And the second news article or roster change being, give me 1 second. Being my boy, the #1 underrated jungler in the LEC, Shio, set to return to Shifters, the formerly named Team BDS. Okay, so where to begin? I guess we'll start chronologically, like I said, with Slowq. So, SK Gaming has Wonder. Actually, I'll pull up my old document for you guys here. SK Gaming has Wonder, Skeens, Leader, Yopa, and Mickey X. And as I'm sure many of you guys know, I made a video at the beginning of this year called the Mickey X Drama Explained, where I went over the kind of crazy, unexpectedness of Mickey X kind of going balls deep with a more risky roster, to say the very least. Because you have to remember, Mickey X was coming off of a year, 2025, a successful year as an individual player with Fnatic, and just before that, a back-to-back dominant domestic run with G2 Esports, where he was a massive part of why people considered G2 to be an international threat for the first time in a few years since the 2020 run, where, oh yeah, Mickey X was on that roster too, 2019 to 2020. So, Mickey going from G2 to Fnatic, who were kind of on a hot streak in 2025, at least at the very beginning, or the end of 2024, definitively second best team, to jumping to SK Gaming, who is definitively the 10th place team in the league in 2025. All because it seems he wanted to GM, and a team like SK was willing to give him that power. And more specifically, all because apparently in spring of 2025, again, this is kind of how the rumor goes, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But apparently, Mickey X kind of checked out of Fnatic after it was determined that they were going to replace Humanoid. He suggested replacing Humanoid with Leader. Fnatic said no, and he was like, all right, you guys don't want to listen, and so he tapped out. Now, it's pretty insane because then as the Sheep Esports article that originally announced this roster move to SK Gaming from Leader and Mickey, they also mentioned that at the end of 2021, Mickey and Leader were again looking to join each other or unite on Cloud9 in North America, no less. And then now here, they join at SK, all to be together. They were willing to take a risk on Leader. And what's really insane is, so if you don't know about Leader all that much, he had a few runs in the LEC, I think on Vitality in 2021, not in 2022, just in 2020 and 2021. No, I think it was just 2021, sorry. 2021. Then they had another stint on Astralis in 2023. And the thing about Leader is that he is known for unorthodox melee mids in the mid lane. Melee mids in the mid lane is a little bit repetitive, and known for having some pretty insane win rates, like I believe at one point a 90% win rate on Yone as he ran up to challengers on like a particular run. So he is seemingly very talented on these picks, and so I guess I expected that the value that Mickey X saw was, let's actually build a team that wanted to play to those strengths of Leader. But pretty quickly, it turned out that Leader was going to just be playing normal traditional picks, which isn't his strength. So why are we picking essentially a subpar mid laner to not play his unique style? Now, Mickey X in a live stream had said, and again, this is all in the Mickey X Drama Explained video, that he did not just think that Leader was great because of his unique picks. He actually said, I think Leader is the best available mid laner on the market. Even putting him, I think, I don't want to quote anything, but I think he put him under, you know, Caps and Jojo Pune or whatnot. But I think was even saying that, like, other than him and Vladdy, Leader was the next best option, arguably top 4, top 5, which after this split, we are seeing he is clearly the liability on currently the 8th place team in the league. Apologies, this is from the video from yesterday. That's pretty crazy stuff. And it's even worse when you consider that the rest of the team is actually really promising. I'm not going to take too long to talk about this. I will say, one, Yopa, absolutely stellar. Do I necessarily think that he's like a top 4, top 3 AD carry? Maybe not, but middle of the pack for sure. Like, I think this guy is really special. And the only other detail that I want to say, I don't want to have to keep harping on or proving my argument here. The only other thing I want to say that's really cool is that Vitality B, dude, they have amazing scouting. And whatever the opposite of a positive shout out is, a freaking shout in. No, that's stupid. Sorry, that was corny. But a freaking shout out to that freaking dude that commented on my last video talking about how Mac and Pad are not good coaches or whatever, or they don't have like scouting talent. Yes, they do, because ever since they've been the Vitality B head coach and head coach of development, particularly with Mac, they have scouted players like Yopa, Knock-Knocko, Linsis, and Chayak, which I know Chayak got demoted, but that's because they got humanoid. They also found Fleshy. They also found Stend. Dude, you're telling me that freaking SK doesn't know how to pick them? Frick you, man. SK freaking got Yopa, man. I'm sorry. Vitality doesn't know how to pick them. Vitality found Yopa, probably because of Mac and Pad, and Yopa's been phenomenal. And honestly, it's what I really love about Yopa is that he's getting the experience of playing not only with Mickey in lane, but also Mickey and his vast knowledge of League of Legends in the macro sense too. Yopa's really good, and I really want to see SK thrive. Simply, a big part of it is not just Mickey X anymore. It's also because I like Yopa now. Skeens, I will say this, I am an Emerald jungler, so by no means do I think I'm phenomenal, but I do watch videos actively trying to get better, and I will say when I watch Skeens, I feel like he is always being proactive and always looking for opportunities to trade when the enemy jungler makes a play on the opposite side of the map, always looking for creative invades, finds really good ganks. Am I saying he's the best jungler in the league? Absolutely not. But what I am saying is he's promising. And a lot of people have actually hyped him up. Kind of like that was the kind of conversation around him joining this SK roster, was that Skeens has some promise to him. And we're kind of always hyped up about him. Long story short, from what I have watched, I think he's actually very good and pretty successful at what he sets out to do. And the last interesting point that I want to bring up is that he actually has a similar playstyle to Velia and Razork, who also actually scratch Razork this split because he's been playing very differently. But Velia and Razork in LEC versus were playing a very aggressive jungle style, always going for invades even when it wasn't an opportune time. And what I think is really nuts is that Skeens is going for these invades and kind of like creative plays and just proactive ones as a jungler without having a winning lane matchup in the mid lane, which is typically the synergy you need to be aggressive as a jungler. So I really think Skeens, with potentially a better mid laner in this guy's slow queue, I think can really open him up. And then obviously if Skeens has a better mid laner to play through, even though I was also going to mention that because I did sort of this video yesterday, the mid lane meta right now, or at least the mid jungle dynamic, is more centered around getting the mid laner ahead than the opposite at this point. And so I think if Skeens and Mickey have a more consistent and normal mid laner to play through, this team is really going to shine. You cannot tell me Mickey is not going to make a strong mid laner look absolutely nuts. The last player to talk about is Wunder. I want to clear something up. I do not think Wunder is terrible. When I said that I think Wunder should retire, which I'll elaborate again, or elaborate more on this in a later video, I was just saying that it's like this run on SK kind of like missing playoffs twice, I think. I don't think they made playoffs in LEC versus. Missing playoffs with Team Heretics in 2024. Having a kind of a lackluster run and missing playoffs in 2023. For a player who was literally considered to be like the greatest top laner in the West and almost of all time, although you have Soaz in the picture, obviously. Higher highs with Wunder, but then, more consistency with Soaz and a longer tenure. Long story short, Wunder is just it's just not looking great. And I think in the case of like a player like Jankos, yes, on Heretics in 2023, the team ultimately failed, but it was so evident that it was not because of Jankos. Whereas here on SK, I don't think Wonder is like the knock-knocko of his team. He's not solo killing anybody, and he's also playing weird picks like Anivia and Twisted Fate, and still not always getting super dominant leads. And he's actually, in the case of TF, yes, in that one game, I forget who it was against. Yes, he was able to have be the only player on his team, I think it was against Fnatic, to have a gold lead, and then they were able to transition that into a kind of an upset, right? A comeback. But at the same time, his TF pick allowed him to be extremely vulnerable in lane. And so, I don't know, it's kind of like mirror win all over again on the weird picks that get exploited and don't, even when they do create leads, they aren't necessarily the reason why these comebacks happen or whatever. Anywho, long story short, I don't think Wonder's horrible, but I do think you guys are overrating him just a tad. And that's all I want to say about that. I would love to see him get better, truly. I have nothing against Wonder. I love Mickey too. So I want to see this team succeed, and it's just unfortunately, and no hate to Leader whatsoever as a human being, obviously, but I just am not happy with his performance, and it's frustrating that this team that actually turns out to be 4 players, or 3.5, because I'm not super invested in Wonder, but the other 3 guys, I'm throwing Wonder back in there. Sorry. 4 players that I want to see do well, be successful, and actually have promise, being held back by a mid laner who I think anybody could have told you was not going to work out is a bit frustrating. I do respect that, there have been teams like G2 who take a risk on, players that I guess all of us, like LeBron, for example, that we all thought were not worth it and thought downgrading from Mickey X. And then it turns out, I'm not saying he's an upgrade from Mickey X, but just that it has been successful. So I was hoping Leader was going to be something like that, but he wasn't. So there we are. I think that's all I have to say about SK. So let's jump over to Shifters. I didn't even have to zoom out. Just had to move a little to the right. Okay, so Shifters, I don't know why. Ever since they changed the name from BDS, it's just been downhill from there. The video, I think it's in a video on my main channel called Overanalyzing like the first week of LEC Winter 2025. I talk about how I kind of give this cute subtitle. I'll actually pull it up real quick. But the subtitle was that Skewmond ruined everything. And the reason why I say that is, obviously I'm just trying to be cute, but the reason why I say that, yeah, the entire LEC Winter split explained, and it's very early on. I think they're the first team that I talk about SK, talk about, you can actually just watch, check this out. Look at me with long hair. I really did not like that look. Okay, check me out. So, okay, Team BDS, they're coming up right here. So Team BDS, Skewmond ruined everything. So basically, Skewmond, or Team BDS has always been famous for having a great academy team. And in 2024, their academy wrapped with 2 really noteworthy prospects, because Gen X and Reeker had both been in the LEC and were not super noteworthy. But what really made this team stand out was Skewmond in the jungle and Paris in the support role. Both of these were really, really hyped up guys. And my feeling was that when you have Yike on G2, who, despite, failing internationally, I think everyone was surprised by the departure of Yike, and especially investing in another rookie after, I guess you could argue that investing in a rookie didn't pay off. But it turns out that G2 did make the call. I believe, according to Sheep Esports articles at the time, Skewmond was surprised to receive the call from G2. And so with all that context in mind, I think the last piece of the puzzle is that, BDS team made him an offer while G2 were playing Worlds, but Skewmond declined. I assume that's because G2 were already in talks with him. And then, one sec. Finally letting Shio, what does this say? See, my understanding is that finally letting Shio listen to offers and letting them know that Skewmond will be the number 1 option of the Swiss team. So you see, I think that I think it was a big mistake to let go of Shio in the first place. And Shio, unfortunately, went to a downgraded team Team Heretics, and also in the process, BDS went extremely downhill too. So it was a net negative for everyone involved in that exchange, and the reason why was because BDS was betting that they would get Skewmon promoted to their main roster. Now I will say, as much as I love Shio, you can't deny the results of Skewmon. Skewmon getting promoted was the right call. The problem was BDS kind of gambled a little too early, and they probably should have kept it under wraps that they were going to promote Skewmon. I will say, though, in fairness to BDS, like, if this is the case, I will say BDS actually were kind of being good guys because they didn't want to screw Shio, so they let him know their intentions so that he could explore the market. Long story short, BDS got screwed because they wanted Skewmon. Skewmon ended up going to G2, and they lost Shio, so they went with the straight downgrade, no disrespect, to 113. Why am I giving you all this context? Well, that I think is literally the proof is in the pudding. That is what happened to Shifters in BDS. They let go of Shio to try and get Skewmon. They lose out on Skewmon. They have to default to 113. And then Bukata, I don't even know where the hell this guy comes from. Was he a part of freaking BDS Academy for a short time? No, he was on SK. And he was on... Was he on SK's main roster? Was Bukata on SK for a tournament? He was? I'm looking at it right now. I'm sorry, guys. Well, what I was showing you was over here. I'm like, where did he come from? And he was in... Wow. I mean, wow. I completely forgot. I usually pride myself on stuff like that. Yo, he was on KCB? What? With Slow Q? What? What am I looking at? An exit kick? What the hell? I completely did not realize that he was on freaking SK in spring. Wow, they only got him in summer. I'm so sorry. Anyway, guys, I don't mean to keep I'm shocked. Anyway, Bukata joins BDS in summer of 2025. And then has been on the team coming into 2026. No disrespect to Bukata. He's been fine. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm being nice. The guy seems like a nice guy. So I don't mean to shit on him or nothing. But I do think he hasn't been he hasn't been overperforming, right? He's been underperforming, arguably. And Rooster tends to have leads in the early to mid game, right? And then he has the capacity to play better in the late game, but for some reason Shifters always throws this lead. I'm not sure if Bukata's like losing his mind in the late game on like some Razork type shit. I'm not sure. The other part of this team, I feel bad. I've kind of given up on Nuke to an extent. Nuke has had a lot of opportunities, and at best, unfortunately, one, he has some issues with kind of the pressure, similar to Lebrav, funny enough. And on top of that, he also is somewhat limited by a specific champion pool that he needs to play. And even if all the stars align, where he doesn't have the pressure, which kind of doesn't exist to a certain extent when you're playing against the top teams, and when he has his champion picks, he still ultimately fails to win a best of 5 when it matters most. And there have been a lot of crucial ones where BDS takes it to game 5, especially in 2024, and yet they fall short. And so 2025 was a rough year. 2026 has been a rough year. But I will say, one thing that I talked about in my video from yesterday, covering kind of everything you need to know about the Esports World Cup, especially the qualifier, is, where is it? Can I find it through backing enough? Apparently not. Okay, so give me 2 seconds. So if we check out the Esports World Cup online qualifier, which has been going on for a few days now or whatnot, nothing crazy. So at the beginning of the tournament, again, online only tournament. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with this. If you need a like kind of a refresher or understanding of what's going on here, watch my last video, please. It's a great video. I think you're gonna love it. Shifters played into Fnatic and lost 2-1. This is when Bukata was on the team. Then Shifters picked up Shio, and in the losers bracket 2-0'd Vitality. I think it is so insane to mention or remind everybody that in LEC Spring right now, LEC Spring 2026, Vitality is 6-1 in a best of 3 regular season, and Shifters has a 0-7 presence. You have to understand, they have not won. I mean, if it was best of ones and they were 0-7, I mean, that'd be bad or whatever. But they literally have not won a single best of 3. And now they don't 2-1 Vitality, they 2-0 them with one roster change. And I would say, you know, what's it called? I probably wouldn't be putting this much weight on one roster change if it wasn't a player that I absolutely believe in, which is Shio. So to me, this change already is making massive dividends, and can actually put Shifters at the very least in playoffs contention. I'm not going to throw them too much higher, but who knows? I think, honestly, I really feel bad because, again, I don't want to shit on Bukata, but you have Paddock, who, from what I've seen, has been pretty decent. Trimby, who's been decent, you know. Rooster, who's been strong. Nuke, who's been struggling, but now you put a good jungler who's familiar of how to get Nuke ahead and very good at it in Shio. You can get Nuke to be a lot stronger. And the last thing, you kind of give Trimby a really strong jungler to play through. I think this team can silently start to really show some promise here. Trimby, I think, has a really good vision of how to kind of direct a game. I think Shio and him, the only thing I will say is that there could be conflicts if they're both opinionated and strong, because Shio also wants to drive the game. But if they can sync up, this can be another famous example of Shio syncing up with a phenomenal support player. I will say that if there's one thing that excites me about this change, because again, like I said, I was hoping that Shio would go to a team like Fnatic or something with more firepower and, you know, kind of get players like Vladdy and Upset ahead, which would be fantastic for them, fantastic for him. But the one thing that makes me happy here is that I believe, as we've seen with Shio's synergy with Labrav on BDS in 2023 and 2024, and then with his synergy with Stend in 2025 and the beginning of 2026, if this guy is versatile enough to kind of sync up with 2 different supports that he's played with, perhaps he can do it a third time with Trimby and really make the both of them shine and make the carries on this team shine as well. So who knows? Maybe Shio and Trimby is going to be a badass duo. I want to see Trimby, who formerly was a top, I mean, I don't know if anybody's remembering this or if anybody's forgotten. Trimby was one of the most, like, one of, if not the best support in the league in like 2021 and 2022. Maybe not 2021, but 2022 for sure. Dude, I want to see him return to his former glory. I think Shio on this roster just fucking slaps. I think Shio on many different rosters would have been an improvement. I think the only other team I would have wanted to see him join, maybe SK, but I didn't want to entertain that too much. Leader was the primary issue. Fnatic would have been really cool, and then you throw Stend or something like that in the support role. No disrespect to Laspa, but I think that would have been cool too. Otherwise, every team seems to be kind of in good shape. Yeah, maybe you slam him on Giant X, and then also there'd be improvement there. But I don't think Isma's the problem. I think you replace other things first. So yeah, long story short, that's the change. That's my feelings about it. I hope I kind of made all of them clear and my excitement around it. I think these 2 roster changes should make Summer a bit more competitive. And also, last thing, LEC Summer last year was hella shitty with like this weird groups format. It was still best of 3s, but it was just ass, and not in a good way. I think that LEC Summer this year is going to be way better because it's going to be another single round robin best of 9 format, best of 3 format. And so I think it should be way more competitive with these 2 rosters literally just 100% improving. I don't have faith that Heretics is going to improve. I think they made 2 roster mistakes in my opinion. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please subscribe. I don't know if you made it to 23 minutes. You probably are a subscriber. But seriously, guys, if I can just beg a little bit for anybody who's gotten here and still has not subscribed, trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of May at the absolute latest so that this channel can be monetized, because by the end of the year, I'm hoping to wrap up with my job that I'm working right now and then go full-time in content creation. And if you guys want to know a little secret, my dream scenario is to get invited by Riot to Worlds this year, which is going to be in America, which I think would be absolutely beautiful. I will cry on camera. I really will. I will cry on camera if we make that dream happen. And I believe, I'm pushing myself right now, I am filming this at freaking, what is that? My clock is 3 hours back behind for some reason. 11:35 at night on a weeknight where I have work tomorrow very early. and I'm still making these videos for you and for me. For you and for me. So please support me. I'm not asking for money, just asking for a subscribe. It's free. And yeah, if you guys like me, if you guys like the content, even if you hate watch, I know I saw a comment like that said that I'm like their favorite thing to hate watch other than Fnatic. Hate watch me. Just do it with a sub, please. It's free. You know, hate me, but don't hurt my livelihood. You know what I mean? Just like my video, do whatever you got to do, and give me a subscribe just so I can make some money. As you hate watch, I don't think I'm that bad. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that last minute was entertaining. Bye, 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 bye. No, I want to see.